So I'm just going to go through a couple of things because of where you guys are now. So let's go to Google for a minute. It's a good place to start, and let's look at some things on, like, let's just type in solutions and maybe climate change if we want to do that. Let's do that. We could do it by year if you want to. Solutions to climate change in the ocean, which is interesting. Climate change articles, climate change on agriculture. Let's do that one. We haven't done that one, but so they're going to give you offer you some things in here that you could try, which would be interesting. This 2020 thing we could look at too. It's very current. The ocean's a big deal. We could look at that. We haven't done that before. Let's just check that one. See what they have. Oh, so they're throwing a bunch of stuff in here for us. The ocean is a solution for climate change. 5 opportunities. Oh, look at this. The ocean has taken the brunt of human-made climate change, absorbing 93% of the heat trapped, which is pretty cool. We're not really sure why the ocean is holding the heat, but what we do know is that it's starting to release the heat. That's going to be a real problem because that means the temperature would go way up. How does this look? So this looks like a pretty serious piece. If we did a citation on that, it probably would tell us that we've got a pretty good article. It's not very old, it's 2019. So let's go down in there and look at it and see what it is about. Well, they have presentation slides. Do that. Have a little video, which I don't know how long it is. Probably fun to see. Let's see what they're talking about. Okay, so here it is. They're talking down here about reducing carbon through installing offshore wind turbine, which is interesting. So that would float on the water. Expanding the use of floating wind and solar facilities. You can actually float those on the ocean. Decarbonizing the shipping industry so that the power that the ships would run on would not be oil anymore. Protecting and restoring mangroves and seagrasses, that would be really important. These are things that produce quite a bit of oxygen. Shifting diets to sustainable marine sources. I think they're talking about stuff like eating seaweed and things like that. But I know seaweed can be made into things that actually, we could, I don't know, we would like in America. Other countries are already using stuff like that. And exploring carbon storage potential under the seabed. In other words, how could we take some of this carbon out of the air, which we can do effectively, and then the question has always been where you're going to place it. So what they're thinking of doing is we could dig down below the water into the ocean floor and bury this stuff. And it would stay there, and that would be good. So this is some interesting stuff right here, just this one piece. So we could do it that way. Let's see what else they've got. It says ocean-based climate solutions could deliver as much as 21%. That's 1/5 of the emissions reductions we would need. So that's pretty, now this is an opinion, but it's CNN's pretty solid. We could look at that. See what this would be. Yeah, it's talking about what we're doing to the ocean, how we're messing it up. Yep, it's the same stuff the other one was talking about. Same stuff. But this could be a really good idea if you guys wanted to look at Well, what can we do with the ocean? How can that help us? Um, and and here it's, if we went through it, it's talking about ocean acidification, which is a real problem. Sea level, these are problems because of the heat. So we could be looking at what could we do with those things. If we just went back to solutions, so we had deforestation, just came up. We'll look at this one. And we don't want to take the ads. The ads you want to skip. They also have scholarly articles here, which I'm not sure about. You could click on those. I think it's going to be fairly high level. Now, we looked at this one last time, Scientific American, and it's got some ideas. Scientific American is very, very good. So fossil fuels is a big one. So it starts there, and it mentions some stuff you could work on. Burning of coal is the biggest one. Oil and then natural gas, these are big ones. So you can look at that. And then they also talk down here about, well, what can we do instead? You can use biofuels, although that's a tricky thing. And then just upgrading buildings. Who believes that? In the United States, of the greenhouse gas emissions, it counts for 43%. That's pretty weird. Who knew that? I mean, I thought the driving was the most important, but it looks like it could just be the buildings. They're creating problems. Transportation is the second leading source of gas emissions. So I guess the buildings are first, then the transportation. So yeah, gas cars. So what to do about that? Really what to do about transportation. They're talking about mass transit, which would be a good idea if we could figure out how to do that. Part of that would have to be your job would have to allow you to be a little flexible. In other words, because we know the buses aren't necessarily always running on time and that kind of thing. They'd have to be more regular. And then long distance travel, airplane flights, one of the fastest growing sources of greenhouse gas emissions. And it releases those things way high, so there's nothing to absorb. Down here, when it gets released down low, at least maybe the trees or something like that can do it. So yeah, so this is an interesting thing. And by the way, that's one of the peer examples we could look at. Consuming less. What are they talking about? Well, yeah, thinking green. So there's a lot of green stuff we can do. We can recycle, clothes. We can do all kinds of things like that. Being more efficient. We waste a lot of energy, especially in our country. And this one, I don't want to go vegetarian. I mean, I'm just not into it, but I certainly try to restrict the amount of meat I eat, especially red meat. And if you actually study this, the farming process of producing meat, you can see that fertilizer is part of the problem, which uses oil to grow it, diesel fuel to harvest. So all of these things, when you're producing food, is quite a waste. Just growing grains is, if we eat more grains, and then this cutting down of the tree thing. So these are all the major things that are going on. So here, when we're talking about cutting down the forest, it's part of the reason the forests are cut down actually is to grow meat. So they burn the forest off so they can create land where they can grow, something that will support cattle, and then they take it and put cattle on it. So that's kind of what's going on with the rainforest. So 33 million acres of forests are cut down every year. I don't know, it takes quite a long time to grow a tree, 30 to 50 years. So that's 20% of human greenhouse gas emissions, and we don't have to do that. Okay. Electricity, yes, we use a lot of electricity. So I don't know if you guys have changed your light bulbs in your house. I guess you mostly have. The new light bulbs, boy, that's really saving a lot of money for you, but also in terms of electricity use. And this other thing sounds radical, but it's very important. We have 6.6 billion people living today. It's going to grow to 9 billion by the mid-century, so by 2050. It takes 54 acres to sustain an average human today. And as it says, we don't have the resources on the planet for this growth of people. Continuing such population growth seems unsustainable. What will happen is we'll start to have famines, we'll start to have wars over food. You can already see we have a lot of migration from poor countries to the United States. That thing where they're talking about the caravans coming to the United States will only increase because, you know, we're bordered next to countries where people can walk here. And granted, it's a long walk, but this is where they're going to come. And so then we're going to be fighting, what, more people for these resources that we really don't have. Different fuels is another way to do it. I love this one. You can electrolyze water, the hydrogen out of water, and burn it. That's really cool. Cars could burn with water. So some of this stuff we actually know how to do, but because of the oil industry, we're not doing it. They will give money to the politicians, and you know, the whole thing gets controlled, so they protect themselves. And then geoengineering, where we can kind of figure out how to block sunlight or reduce greenhouse gases. Now this is sort of sci-fi, and as they say, it's potential last resort because it's expensive. It's really expensive. But this is interesting. Fertilize the oceans with iron to enable plankton to absorb more carbon. Now the plankton are the single cell organisms that produce all our oxygen, but they also absorb the carbon. That would be wonderful to do something like that. I think would be great. So if you're interested in those kind of things, this is more long-term, but it's also something that in the long run is going to be very effective, especially if we as humans are so selfish that we can't see our way out of changing our lifestyle or things that we're doing. That's a good one. So all of those things that came up are all good. Here's some more things. And here's that wind power that somebody was talking about before, which costs us nothing. Refrigerants used to be a really big problem. I don't know if they're still a big problem, but they used to be. So most of the stuff that you use in your refrigerator now is it's a new sort of chemical. It's not this CFC stuff. It's something different. Which, by the way, when you release that stuff, just makes a hole in the atmosphere, which is like, okay, let's just let the heat in from the sun. Let's not protect ourselves at all. But so refrigerants, who knew that? And what's nice about this is it kind of goes through the problem, it goes solutions, and it goes work to be done, and then it actually gives you some impact there, and you can, so all this is like really good information. It's like a great source, because when you need research, you need to have this data, and this has data on it, so this thing's pretty nice. Wind turbines, again, it goes to problem, solutions. Now look, the wind turbines only supply about, what, 4%? It doesn't mean it could be a lot more, because, you know, wind, we're just not doing it yet. So the wind and potential of just 3 states, Kansas, North Dakota, and Texas, would be sufficient to meet electricity demand in our whole country. the whole country. Imagine, just 3 states, Kansas, North Dakota, and Texas. In 3 states, we would not have to use oil anymore for the whole country. We just did it for 3 states. So this thing is not overwhelming. It's stuff we can do. And if we did that, here we did, we reduced CO2 dramatically just by doing that. I mean, it's like, doesn't seem like much. And then it gives you the impact, whoops, work to be done, impact, like that. So this is a really nice article. Food waste is a terrible thing. People are hungry now, and that's, in this United States, we produce food. So what they're doing is they're throwing the food away. The farmers are just throwing it away because nobody will pay them for it. The government used to buy this up. There's actually money for it, but they haven't been spending it the way, I don't know. They're not doing their job. Normally this food gets bought up, and in times like this, when people don't have food, then they open the warehouses and they bring this stuff from the farmers. The farmers don't want to throw it away. They really don't. The farmers would rather, sell it at least at cost, so they cover their costs, and then that goes to people that can't afford it. And so again, problem, solution, work to be done, and impact. Plant-rich diet, why would that help us? And it kind of goes through that. Now, plant-rich diet doesn't mean that it's completely meatless. It just means that we're moving more away from meat, especially red meat. Red meat's the big deal. So, yeah, the methane. If you really wanted to look it up, oddly enough, cows produce a lot of methane. If cattle were their own nation, they would be the world's 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases. What do you think of that? So what is it? China's the biggest? Probably the United States is up there, but if the cattle were a country, like the country of cattle, they would emit the 3rd largest greenhouse gases. And they're not even, that's not fossil fuel. That's just a cow. So when you say, well, what's the impact of me eating red meat? I don't see the harm. Yeah, it's a 1/3 of the problem. So any of these things that we could deal with would really, really help us. And like it says, with billions of people dining 3 times a day or more, some people eat a lot, there's your issue. So maybe personal lifestyle would have to change a little bit. And the reduction is pretty significant when you look at it. So like that. Tropical forest restoration. It's another great one. This is a great article right here. So maybe we can do something in this area to plant trees. United States is not the best place to plant trees. We may have some areas we could do it. California is not really one of them. Educating girls, believe it or not, education is a big deal. Women and families are often the big influencers in terms of what the family does, what the family believes, how the family lives. So educated women. Yep. And then family planning. So, yep. You realize in the United States we have the ability to control when people have children, but in poor countries they don't have the ability. And the way the cultures work is, once you're married, you're supposed to produce children. They don't even think about it in terms of what's the cost of the planet, or if they can feed them. They just have children because people have sex and they're going to have children. And then part of it is, in certain countries, it's considered you're more male if you have more children. If you're a woman, you want to have more children. Some of it has to do with religion. God ordains that we multiply. Solar farms would be really good. We can do this, all over California, Arizona. All these places would be wonderful places to do it. Yeah. Can you believe it? Chernobyl, which is in Russia, is going to have a gigawatt solar farm and be the world's largest. Now, why is Russia going to have the largest They don't have the money the United States has, nowhere near. Why would they have the largest? This is crazy. So something to consider, that why aren't we doing more? We've got the money. Oh, and this is a cool idea. Just planning where cows would eat. For instance, we talked about, well, plains are way up high, so those emissions, there's nothing to absorb it. It just goes up there and stays. Cows here down, they're down by the earth. So if you planted trees in there and grass, you know, of course they're going to have grass. The trees and the grass will absorb quite a bit of that. That would be great. And at the same time, you would be helping with carbon dioxide. So rooftop solar, we're all doing that, or most of us are. All the new construction in California will be solar. Anything new will have solar. So eventually these older buildings will go away, or people will put the solar on. It's a 25-year thing, so if it costs your family, say $20,000, it's good for 25 years at 80%, and even after that, it's still going to produce electricity. So it's a really good buy. The cost of producing electricity is going to go up in your lifetime. It's going to be a lot more. Spending $20,000 now is quite a savings for the future. So it's a good investment. So we just looked at this. We just wanted to look at this to get some ideas. We've got those ideas. That's going to help you guys if you're not sure, if you haven't thought of your ideas. And you want to look at things that have big impacts. So try to stay away from individual things. You're going to find papers out there. There's sort of high school papers that are talking about, you know, little things we can do. Yeah, we want to change our lifestyle in some way, in particular red meat. But the big thing to do is how are we producing this energy that we need? How are we moving around? What ways are we eating? How can we, you know, reclaim the ocean? Because the ocean's been our friend for a long time, and we haven't been good to it. So how can we do those things? So those are all ideas for you guys. Because I know that some of you, now that you're starting to write, are coming up with things that you're just grabbing that are not really going to do much. Because when you make your argument, you're arguing that they're going to have a great impact. If that's not true, and you can't prove it, then you don't have a good argument. If it's something that we could do for free, almost for free, then we would want to do that right away, because it doesn't cost us anything. Let's just do it. If it's something that's more of a long-term development, or would be a process, then we want to look at that. We want to look at how the government can support these energy changes, not how they can frustrate it, but how can they support it. We want to make sure that they're not promoting oil over these sustainable ways of producing energy, or those ways of moving just to support the oil industry, which seems to be happening. That's a big problem. That's not supporting the people of the United States. That's supporting a business. We've got to get away from that, because that's what's going to kill us. And it's not a moral process when somebody will sacrifice the health of the people for business or for some kickback that they're getting. It's not ethical. It's not moral. So we have to be more maybe verbal about it. We have to be angrier about it. You have to think about, well, what does this mean to my life if I just passively sit back and let this happen? So there's some stuff you've got to really, really be, you know, engaging with to understand this. Does anybody have any questions on what we've been looking at, or topics? Anybody? Okay, you can. Anybody? Somebody said something. Servando?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing. Okay. All right. So I want to look at my bib one time. That's part of it. But maybe I should go back to to our stuff that we've got. So you guys are starting to post here, um, which is the first place to post your stuff. And I think I have 7 so far. I've graded 4. They came in really early, so I'll do as they come in. I'm doing them. And what's important here is that you're setting up what your choices are. So you want some feedback from me in terms of, are these choices going to work? And then, are you setting up an argument? Are you, so for instance, when you're making an statement, you want to say this thing must be done. Be emphatic about it. It's important. Do we need to do it? Well, we probably should do it. No, say we must do it. Or if we don't do it, have a caveat. If it's not done, it's going to put everyone's health in danger. If we don't make a plan today, the people in the future, mostly your children, are going to blame you for what were you doing when this was going on? Sleeping? Were you just too dumb to know what's going on? You can't explain that to them, why they can't go to the beach, why they don't have clean air. You can't do that. Why is it so hot? We got to do it now. So it's incumbent upon us to do this now. We're running out of time. We've not had all these things that are coming up now are very modern problems. This COVID thing is a very modern problem. This global warming thing is a very modern problem. Nobody's had to deal with this before. It's hard to conceive of what the future looks like in 20 years. It's for most people. But the science is telling us, hey, you can ignore it, but in 20 years, it's not looking so good. So, up to you. The government hasn't jumped on board at all. They just seem to be, I don't know, they're, heads in the ground or something like that, heads in a hole in the ground. I don't know what's going on with that, but we've got to do something so before things get bad. So looking at this, you're going to set it up. I'm going to be looking at your argument statement. You're going to be you'd be somewhat passionate about it. You want to argue a couple of things. So you can argue that these things must be done. In fact, your introduction sets it up that way. So you're going to have a hook that sort of makes us understand, why is this thing a critical issue? You might have a quote, you might have a statistic, you might have a scenario where you imagine, geez, if we didn't do this and it's going at this rate, what does it look like in, say, 10 years, which is not too far out? What does it look like? Food, we like food. When will food shortages in the United States? And that's going to happen too. Can you imagine food shortage? We've never had it. So it's this kind of stuff that people they don't get. They don't want to get it either. It's like, nah, another problem, no thanks. So you've got to establish that for them. Then you have to give them some background about, how climate change is happening. That all has to be in the introduction. And then you have a 1-sentence summary of each one of these articles you've found that are sort of proposing solutions. And then you have your argument statement, which emphatically argues that we've got to do these things. And your reasoning is because of the impact that it's going to have, because we must make a plan. And if you want to just say it that way, then these things must be included in that plan and should maybe be prioritized in the plan because they're cheap, because they have a great impact, because they can be done really quickly. And some of this stuff, even if it has a great impact, we can't go too far into the future without doing something. We can't say, oh, this is good, and in 10 years, man, this thing is going to be great. We're going 10 years without doing anything. So everything accelerates. Everything's much worse. We have to start with whatever we can start now and then make the plan that's going to make things a lot better. Just that, the wind turbines are very interesting. In those 3 states, if we just put money into it, like we're putting money into crazy stuff in the United States, I don't know, we could probably build it in a couple of years, everything that we need. And if we have solar, in addition to that, who knows what we can do? We can do all kinds of stuff. So, and we're getting away from the oil. You know, we don't have to use oil. Oil can be used maybe for something else or just saved for some desperate time. But certainly it is going to kill us. So make your argument. Make a hook that sets it up. Give us the background. Find the two articles you want to work with. Make a little summary of each one. Make your argument. And by the way, an argument is where you take a position. That's why you have to say something like, we must do this now. You can't say, you know, it would be a nice idea to do this. That's not an argument. Or how nice would it be to, You have to take a position. Now, you know, when you're angry and you want to argue something, you take a position, usually pretty strong. Take a strong position, then it's an argument. And so if you make that introduction paragraph, I'll look at it and I'll help you with it. And then you're going to have two summary paragraphs after that where you summarize each one of those articles in pretty good detail, because they're going to be your anchor text. That's what you're going to be using to sort of set up this whole theory that if we do these two things, we're going to be better off. And then you're going to bring in 3 body paragraphs where you're going to be bringing in some research. What can you show about either one of these or both of these that's going to be better? So each body paragraph, you know, maybe you're going to prioritize. You're going to say, okay. So there's a paper I'll show you in a minute, but the guy's arguing 2 things. One is that he likes the idea of super plants because they could do a lot. You notice that they were talking about that, I forget now, but the organism in the ocean that you could change to absorb more carbon. That's excellent. That would be a super plant, but it might take us 10 years research before we can actually develop it. In the meanwhile, we could probably throw in the iron and just get them to absorb more, because they would. Now, the question is, how much iron would we throw in there? What would be the cost of it? All that kind of stuff. So you want to look for things that are sort of quick solutions, things that are middle solutions, things that are long-term solutions, and have some plan that includes, you know, several of these areas like that. And your 2 summaries, and then you have 3 body paragraphs where you either prioritize one, you're talking about one mostly, and maybe 2 of your body paragraphs talk about the one you favor. And then the other body paragraph throws in some information about the second one. You know, it doesn't have to be balanced. And then you have your counter argument or your counter claim, which is a 2-part thing. So you want to agree that, yeah, you know what, there's other ideas. If we just looked at the files here, and we looked at this, we click on this one, we see that we have research peer ideas. So we go to that one, it's going to load all these. So let's say you didn't do something about the rainforest. Well, you could go in your counterclaim, you could concede, you know, that's something we really should do right away. I don't know how we would. Actually, we just have to promote the encourage, whether that would be with physical force, military force, or whatever, or, you know, pressuring with economic tariffs or something like that, the rainforest, that they not do that anymore, because that right now is our supply, and the more they cut that down, the less supply we have while we're trying to figure this other stuff out. So you could concede this has got to be part of the plan. And that doesn't weaken your argument at all. It just concedes that, you know, this is another thing that probably should be done. But then go back to your side, so that's concession. Go back to your side, which is a refutation, and say, however, while this could be done, these other 2 things must be part of the plan and need to be instituted, you know, right away. So you can find your counter stuff here if you wanted to, without really going to a lot of trouble. And then you're going to have your conclusion. And then the last thing you're going to have is your Works Cited page. So that's why now we'll go to this one, the Works Cited page. And here, if you had something that you looked at, let's say we look back at this article here. We said, you know what, this is good. I'm going to take something from this article But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this URL here because I found some stuff in there I liked. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back here and I want to create a citation. So I'm going to put create a citation. And I'm going to paste this in, paste. But now I have to select the type of source I want to cite. Well, this is a website. It's not a book. It's not a journal, not a video. It's not all of these things, which it could be. It's really not. It's not really a journal article, but occasionally you will find a journal article. It's not a database article. So, but if it were one of those, you would just choose those. But in this case, oh no, I lost it. That was good. In this case, it is a website. So we click search. It's going to bring us the information. It's going to find it in a minute. There it is. Oh, proceed with caution. Interesting. Okay. They don't like greenamerica.org. Oh, that's their problem. We couldn't find any authors. Okay, well that's all right. So credibility. They don't like it. Let's go ahead with it anyway. Let's check it out. We couldn't detect the web page author. Does it have one? Let's see. We'll look. Yeah, it actually is adapted from a book. There it is. So Paul Hawken, we have an editor. We have somebody. I'm going to copy him. We do have that. So we can go down and go, yes, we got it. If we didn't have it, that's why they're like a little concerned. And as they mentioned him right here. Now this might be written by somebody else. Let's go to the bottom and see if we can find an author on this one. It's a big article. Nope, there's no author for this particular piece. So I think I explained to you guys before, a lot of times they'll have staff. Staff is not an author. So the reason they are kind of worried about this one, they didn't see an author. So we're going to say, yes, it does. And paste. We're going to cut this one out. And we'll put it there. We're going to go next. And so we'll see what isn't filled in. So we got this. We've got the title. We've got the date. We don't have the month and the day. Let's see if we can find that, if it's got that. Well, we know today's date, but I don't actually see a date on that. We know it came from a book in 2017. So I am not seeing a date. Now, one other thing we could do is look in the URL. No, I don't see a date in that either. So we don't actually have a date. We just have the year. We do have today's date though. So we don't have to type it in. We just go over here and click on today and it puts it. The website is Green America. Publisher, I think it's probably the same that publishes it because it's an organization. Yeah, it's Green America. So that they put this is their site and they published it. So we've got that. We go on down. Okay. So it looks like we've got enough information that we like. It's going to look like this in the gray. Okay, you guys can see it. It's going to be Hawk and Paul, Top 10 Solutions to Reverse Climate Change, Green America 2017. Here's the URL. Here's the access date. So that's what a citation should look like. So we're going to save this one. And now we've got it. I've only got one source on here, but on the Works Cited page, I go over there where it says the blue button on the right. It says download Works Cited. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to pretend like I have like my 6 sources here that I need. I'm just going to click on it. And this is the easiest way to set it up. It's going to alphabetize it. It's going to indent it. Everything's going to be perfect. I'm going to download the Works Cited. Whoops. And I know I'm going to copy and paste it in my paper. So I'm going to click on this to see what, there it is. It looks perfect. So it's got Works Cited in the middle like I want. Last name, it's got, look at it, put it in quotes for you. It put the Green America in italics for you. Wow. The year, it's got the URL, it's got the access date. All you have to do is click this, click on that, which I'm not going to do right now. But I could click it, and then I go to my paper, go to a new page, I click it in there, I've got it. It's all done for me. It's beautiful. Okay. My in-text citation here is Hawken. So if in the paper I'm quoting some stuff, which I probably would because that's why I wanted it, you know, maybe I liked, when I looked at this, I'm thinking, okay, I'm interested in, what am I interested in? I'm interested in, wind turbines. I'm interested in that. So I get some data out of here, 5.3 million worldwide, 12.3 billion in subsidies. So it's going to need a subsidy to start, but you know it's going to pay it back. And then I look at, okay, so what's the impact of this? That's pretty good. This is pretty good. I like that fact when I looked up, it was only 3 states. I don't know where I find that, but it's in there somewhere. Here it is. I really like this part, that in the US, the wind energy potential of just 3 states would be enough to sufficiently meet electricity demand from coast to coast. I love that one. So I might want to just copy that whole thing, put it in quotes, and then I'm going to need to put Hawkins, the last name, there in my paper. Because it looks, I mean, that's a powerful statement. That's all we would have to do, take care of our energy. It's like, come on, could it be easier? It really couldn't be easier. So I like that one. You guys may like different things there, but so that's how you do this. This is really easy. I already looked at, some people have already put on their paper. We looked at that for just a minute. We have a complete draft here. I'm just going to look at it in a minute. I think I have one. So this person's a little early. There. And I'm going to look here. That's what I do. I go here. And I find this one. And I go all the way down just to the end of it because I want to see the end of it. Okay. Whoops. And I'm looking at Works Cited. So I have a list of all the things that are being used. Some of these are quite good. This guy is good. I know that. And so NRDC is a good organization. Scientific American's good. These are all good ones, so I'm solid stuff. But what I'm noticing is that I don't have it set up in the way I want. So probably what I would do, I would highlight this one. I would take this one and highlight it. And I would go back to my bib here, and I would create a citation so that I could have it all just how I want it. And that would be pretty cool because pretty easy to do. I like that. It's really easy. That'd be nice. So I could fix my Works Cited page really easy. Just do that. Then I'd be perfect. And by the way, this is good. Look, it's alphabetized. It's indented the way it's supposed to be. It's just missing because it's got this. If it's Global Warming 101 and that's an article title, that would be in quotes like that. And then we want to have the nrdc.org right in there. Then we want to have the date here, and then we want to have the date of access right there. But if I just copy the URL and go to my bib here, it'll make it for me. So I can do it either way. I can change it myself because I know what I'm missing, or I can just copy the URL and go up there. So I have my choices. I mean, whichever one. And then with files, if you want to see what people have done in the past, click on this one. If we go down to peer examples, we got some examples here. I'm telling you, these are not necessarily the best examples because people will send, it's just like you guys. You send me your drafts, I mark them up, people change it, and that's the final paper. These are not final papers. These are just versions that people sent me. What's this one? Let's look at this guy. So this guy's got some ideas. Solar, he's interested in solar and super plants. I don't think this is quite right because he should have 8 paragraphs, but anyway, he's got some stuff going on, which is good. His Works Cited is not finished, but at least he's got part of it, so he's on his way. It's not alphabetized. He does have the right information for the most part. Well, that's interesting. I'm not sure about this in terms of a source, but anyway, that's what he's got. And what he doesn't have is the date of access. He hasn't put that. So again, if he would just take this thing here, copy it, go over to my bib, put it in there, it would make it all perfect for him. But he did a good job. This is a good job. He's got it all listed. Pretty good. It just needed a couple of changes, and it's perfect. The essay itself is a little short, so you would have to fix it. But still, so there's some examples. That's one. And we could look, I don't know what this one is. We can check this one. Here's another one. This lady, this is 8 pages. She's a very hard worker. She started out with this idea of forest. She was interested in the forest fires going on, which you can't do anything with because, oh, she's talking about it there. But now she's talking about fossil fuels and the problem with burning fossil fuels. She's interested in the change your diet to combat climate change, which is, by the way, this is a really good article. Or this idea that the California reservoirs are actually dumping water because we can't figure out how to save it. So she's saying, well, one thing we could do is save the water, because if what we don't have is enough water to like grow things, let's figure out how to save the water, and then when it's dry, we can use the water we get to grow the crops. So that would actually help with food shortages. So that's one thing that would help. This is more adaptation to the problem. This is not really correcting it, but still not a bad idea. And this is changing the diet. I think she has a thing about red meat. So she's got her 2 summaries in here. Well, that's interesting. So she's got a pretty scary hook, which is good. So look at that, 99.84% of the land is suffering from drought in California. So it's the whole state, the whole state. We are in Southern California, we're the worst of it, but we've been lucky so far. She says in order to mitigate climate change, it is necessary, so she's taken a position, to begin by cutting red meat production and consumption, as this is equivalent to, I don't know, she could use a fact in here, but anyway, she's got an argument. She's got two things she's going to work with. Here's her first summary. Let's see. And she's using one of her body paragraphs there. Here's her second summary. Here's another body paragraph. Here's a third body paragraph with loads of research, and she's only on page 4. So she writes a lot, as you can see, a lot. Now here's her counter piece. There's other strategies, such as injecting the excess carbon dioxide into the ground. Yeah, that's what they were talking about. You can put it in the ground. The problem is we're concerned about putting it on the top of the earth. So that's why that one idea was to like drill down in the ocean and dump it in there. So that's one thing to do. So she talks about that one. And then her conclusion's sort of nice. All in all, numerous strategies may, so in other words, we may need to do several things. So that's her conclusion. And here's her works cited. She's got it backwards. So this should go out, this should go in, but she does have all the information. She doesn't have MSNBC in italics. So there's some stuff in here that's wrong, but for the most part, she's got things the way she should. So, but again, if you just go to my bib.com, it'll fix it. So this is probably a pretty good one just to show you stuff. It's a little long, I think, but she was quite a worker in that one. And again, peer ideas, the essay directions. So if you can't remember, well, how many paragraphs, it's going to be 8. This takes you through it, all the paragraphs that you need. It explains what each one is going to do, like that. And then this is a quickie guide to it, which is maybe easier to look at, a little outline, and the Works Cited page. So it's all that stuff. Okay. Okay, so we looked at argument structure, we looked at getting ideas, we looked at these first 3 paragraphs because I am going to be, marking them and telling you things to do. For some of you, it's just, it's also not only going to be the ideas, it's going to be punctuation, sentence wording, things like that you just have to work on. You're going to have to work on. If the Writing Center was open, which, I mean, there's a way to send a paper there. I don't know how good it is right now because this is their first semester doing it, but probably by summer they'll have it all set up really nice, and in fall it'll be perfect. But they are trying over there, so you would be sending it to them online, and they would look at it and mark it up and talk to you about it. So you can always do that. Okay. Any questions on the argument paper or anything you want to think about, talk about? So we have 4 weeks left, which is lots of time. I have to put grades in, I think, on the 28th, I believe it is. Yeah. So that's kind of why I set up your pieces. And if you notice in your assignments, the last time you can turn anything in is the 25th, which is what? 4 weeks? This is, yeah, it'd be 4 weeks out. And then that'll give me time to get things back to you and get the grades in. I'm going to send out today where you are in terms of your grades so you can know what your grade so far is. And then, some people are doing real well. Some people are almost finished, except for this argument paper. A lot of you are. Some people have papers to revise. And so I'll be explaining it. So I'm going to put in, for the revised, I'm going to mark that as a C right now until you guys, turn it in. And then it depends on the percentage of the grade that is. The Trump paper is the biggest paper you guys have written, and that was the hard one. So that counts as the most so far. The next one, the Trump paper and the argument are equal. And then so they count for good percent. And then the visual analysis counts for the next. And then those first 3 exercises all count together as 1 grade. So, but I'll put the grades together for you and send that out so you can know where you are. And then if you want to try to change something, a lot of it, so if you get a pass on everything, you've got a B. If you get high passes on everything, it's an A. If you miss something, then that goes in as a 0 for that little piece. So you don't really want that. But if you have a revise that you just can't get around to revising, that'll go in as a C, that part. So it'll be the combination of those grades. When I add them up, that'll be your final grade. But the idea is that you can always revise. So until, the 25th, when nothing can be revised, because that has to be the final date. I have to actually get everything done by then. You have options to change your grade. I mean, your grade can be shifting, hopefully higher all the time. You have those options. Or if you're just exhausted and you just want to get complete, finish, at least get a pass on everything. You've got a B for that. If you have a high pass on the Trump piece and a high pass on the argument, then you're in the A category. So unless you just have, if you have no revises and you have A's on those and passes on the others, you'll get an A. And then other combinations can maybe work. So to get an A. All right, so, but I'll be sending you those grades, figuring it out today and sending that to you. In the meanwhile, you guys want to get your stuff in. Don't put yourself under pressure. Pressure is no good. Yeah. Okay, so we finished with the argument. I'm going to stay open for a while and see if anybody wants to talk about their paper with the revision of anything, analysis, or the Trump piece, or if you're just missing one that you need to get in still, any of that stuff. Okay. Otherwise, I can see, so you can just ask me the question and we'll look at it. You're all muted, but I think you muted yourself. I didn't really mute you. So you just have to unmute and ask the question.
I do have some questions about the introductions and the